Well, good morning, everybody. Oh, it's always good to do an hour and a half drive when the sun's shining in winter periods. Oh, that was just a nice story to be driving here and have the sun shine the whole way. My name is Patrick. I've been with Teen Challenge for over 15 years, and it has been such an amazing highlight of my life and the direction that it's gone in my life and how it's affected me and seeing the changed lives. See, they say right now, 180 million people in the world are stuck in addictions. Teen Challenge is only about maybe 22,000 beds. And so there's a great need for growth. And I can't wait to tell you how you and I can be part of that growth. You're about to meet two amazing guys. Guys who have one thing in common: brokenness. Broken relationships, broken health, broken finance, but most importantly, a broken relationship with their God. At Teen Challenge, we believe it's our mission to help men and women overcome substance addictions to lead full and productive lives. And as I said, after being there for all of these years, I do believe that's a program that works and that makes a difference in so many lives. I just cannot wait to tell you more about this program, and I can't wait for you to hear about the lives that have been changed and how they're continuously being changed by God's work through Teen Challenge. We have some amazing people that work at Teen Challenge. We have a certified counselor. I myself received my master's in leadership and management at the school that your pastor just mentioned. And many of our staff actually went through the program, so it's actually a big benefit for me to be able to speak to the guys who went through the program and now are on staff, so that I can get more of an idea of what is it like to reside at Teen Challenge. As you can see, we have a number of locations throughout Canada, a number of centers. In our neck of the woods, we have a center just outside of Allen, which is about 45 minutes from Saskatoon. It's only about, 5 kilometers. It can hold a maximum, I believe, about 18 people. And then as well, if you've ever driven past Hague, if you just look a little bit in the distance, you'll see the Women's Center there. And I'll never forget that time because when I first got at Teen Challenge, I know how badly we wanted to have a Women's Center. And I'll never forget where the people of Hague were a little nervous with the idea of having a center with former or current drug addicts. And so I actually drove in an afternoon in Allen, Saskatchewan, and I spoke to the mayor, I spoke to farmers, businesses, and by the end of that afternoon, I literally got 14 letters that I said from the mayor, from farmers and businesses, stating the benefit of having Teen Challenge in the area. And it was such a joy to be able to bring that to the town of Hague and hand it to them. And then probably one of the greatest joys of my life was when I was actually in Hague, when I got to actually watch them break ground and start the process of building the Women's Center. Now it's thriving. If you know anybody struggling with addiction, I encourage you to contact us. There are so many ways that you can apply to Teen Challenge, but I would say the best and quickest way to make it happen is apply online. But there's so much stuff I'm not going to be able to bring up today. And so if you have any further questions of what Teen Challenge is like, I really encourage you to call this number and ask them. I'll have the number as well on the table if you need a card there too, and along with the name of who to call. But it's not an easy program. It's called Challenge for a reason. They say right now, only about maybe 40% of those who walk through the doors of Teen Challenge make it to graduation. So that's 60% that leave early. I just want to give you a very quick snapshot of what a day in the life of a person who stays at Teen Challenge is like. At about 7 o'clock is when they wake up, and at 7:30 these guys have devotions, and I have stressed devotions to these guys. I cannot tell you how many times a person's left their program, whether they graduate or they left early, and they went back to their addictions. And I always ask them this question, it's the same answer. The person that went was their devotions. At about 9 o'clock, we have chapel, and it's just so wonderful because we have so many speakers. Sometimes we have guest speakers, sometimes the staff, sometimes we get to hear the guys at our center that you'll be able to hear today telling their testimonies for the very first opportunity to give their testimonies in front of the rest of the guys. After that, we have classroom experience, and that's on a wide range of subjects. It can be on temptation, anger, biblical studies. And then in the afternoon, we have what's called work therapy. That's work detail that can be either on-site or off-site. In fact, I don't think there's a business in Allen that I can think of that Teen Challenge hasn't at some point in my time being there been a part of. I remember just a few years ago, a wonderful couple in Corey and Anita decided to renovate a home. And it was just great to see because we had some guys who were familiar with construction work and others who were not. So the ones who were familiar took some of the guys who were not as familiar, and we were able to help show them the ropes and sort of give them like a short crash course on what that kind of life is like. But right now, I want to do my favorite thing that I do at these events, and that is hearing these guys tell their stories. And what an amazing story I've heard from this man, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Can you please welcome Chris?
Hello? All right. Good morning, everybody. Start from the beginning. Basically, my name is Chris. About the age of 4, I was in foster care, me and my brother. I got a brother. And we're 10 and a half months apart. And so 4 years old, that's when me and my brother were adopted by 2 loving parents that were from Newfoundland. And so at the age of 12, I knew that me and my brother were different from our parents by our skin pigment. And so about the age of 13 is the day I found out that we were adopted. And that's the day when I grew up very angry. I closed off from God. I didn't want nothing to do with God because my mindset was, why would God take our parents from us and give us different parents, strangers to me? And that's the day I let the devil put a foothold into my life, and didn't realize the damage that by this choice throughout my life would cause further down my life. And so when I grew up, my parents put down rules. Every rule they put, I broke. I didn't care what you set for me, you couldn't control me. And I was very stubborn, pig-headed when I grew up, and had a lot of anger. And so throughout high school, when I was in high school, I started getting in trouble with the law. I went to court the first time when I was about 20 years old, and it was for trafficking. I ended up homeless at the time, and this was the only way I could put food in my stomach was to sell drugs. And so I sold drugs, and eventually I got caught. So when I got caught, when I went to court, I was thrown a bunch of charges for trafficking, assault to a peace officer, beanie, mischief, under 5,000. I got charged for skateboarding. I broke into a school and skateboarding, and that was the first time. And I was willing to accept that I was going to go to jail. And I remember I was so hardened by my heart that I remember watching my mom cry, and I felt nothing. I didn't feel anything when she cried because she believed I was going to go to jail. And I pleaded guilty for those charges, and the judge never gave me a day in jail. You know, thank God, which is weird because throughout my life, I've been homeless 4 times. I've been to court 4 times. and I cannot answer why I've never seen a jail cell. And I've had lawyers tell me, why am I not in jail? And I cannot answer that question. Like I have those charges, I have, a DUI, I have weapons charge, stuff like that. And it baffles me, it's just through the grace of God and His mercy, and I'm just lucky I'm alive today, because before I came into the program, I was doing plumbing. I had a plumbing career, so throughout my life I did a plumbing career. And finally, when I come to Saskatchewan, the doors opened, but then I messed it up by doing drugs because I was getting addicted to doing meth. I've done every type of drug except stick a needle in my arm. I've been into trap houses where I could tell you insane stories where I've seen people try to kill each other, over just a measly $100, or people trying to take somebody's life for it, stuff like that, or people owe money. And I've seen, one time where I seen a guy owe just $120 to a drug dealer, and the guy put a hammer right to his temple, about to smash his head in. And then I knew another buddy who paid his debt for him, saved his life. It's just crazy stuff like that. But before I came into Teen Challenge, I messed up my plumbing job, and then so I figured everything I touch, it just turns to garbage on me. I can't keep relationships, I can't keep a decent job in my life. And one day I sat in my car and I actually gassed myself. I was sitting there for 40 minutes in my car gassing myself. And I had a buddy from Alberta phone me and asked what I was doing. I said, I'm not doing nothing, man, right now. And he asked me again, I said, no, what are you doing? I said, I'm gassing myself. And he said, open the door. I said, I want to see it still. So, because the way I looked at it, I said, nothing good in my life ever happens. I'm just a guy who just tries to survive, and that's it. I said, that's all I ever known is survival and anger, and, I've never had nothing good. My whole life, I've literally walked on Satan's world, as they say. That's all I know. I hung out with people that gang banged, sold drugs. I've sold numerous drugs, I've touched so much money that it doesn't mean nothing to me. I got nothing to show for it. I just got lots of insane stories to tell people, but that doesn't mean nothing. It's just by the grace of God I'm still alive. If it wasn't for Him showing me mercy and showing me real love, because all I know is just fake love. People, want something from you. That's all I ever known. So right now I'm in the midst of, seeing what God's abundant love is in my life, because I'm looking forward to it. But throughout my program since I've been here, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, that's what keeps popping up to me everywhere I go. Is, you got to trust in the Lord. Because I only trusted in my own strength. I only got so far on my own strength, and I still failed. So you got to trust in God, just that scripture alone. But enjoy your day. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chris. It's always amazing to hear these, and if you've been encouraged by any of the testimonies you hear today, I really encourage you to go to this website, changelives.ca, It is a great site that you get to, I've heard all the testimonies on that site, and I've even gotten a chance to meet a number of the people that you'll be hearing if you went there. And so I really encourage you to go to that site to hear a few more testimonies. We have a number of events that happen throughout the year at Teen Challenge. We have actually a gala coming up this April. You can come to the table if you have any more questions about that. It's just great to have a table there that you can sit and hear some more testimonies from the guys and hear them share and hear a great band. And we also have other events. We have a golf tournament that happens every year, and you can either sponsor one of our guys to be a golfer, or you can choose to be a golfer yourself for it. We have fun runs. We also have a freedom ride that some of our guys have been a part of over the past year or two. But more than anything else is pretty much almost on a monthly basis, the Saskatchewan Men's Center has a graduation. We just had one a couple Fridays ago. We also have one coming, I believe it's March 8th, I believe. And so if you're in the Saskatoon area on a Friday evening, call in advance and see if we're doing a graduation that day. It's always an amazing time. We're all there, and just hearing, I don't like saying it's the end of the journey. I prefer just saying the graduation is just the next step of the journey. But it's always such a heartfelt time to see a graduation. So I brought up this idea of the journey earlier, and what exactly does that look like, and what does that mean for you and me? There are a number of ways you can give. We have a debit credit card machine. We have also, you'll see these cards, maybe some of you've got it. This is another way you can scan this and you can give that way. But this is where it gets personal for me. When I first got involved with Teen Challenge, I didn't believe the numbers. And so as part of my master's degree, I did an 8-month study at Teen Challenge Saskatchewan of those who left the program. They left by graduation or left early. And I found that after 8 months study, of those who graduated from Teen Challenge, sure enough, 69% of those guys were off drugs and alcohol. And that was a great number. But as I said earlier, only 40% of people make it to graduation. And of those who leave early, whether it's month 1, month 5, month 10, I found that only 10% of those people were off drugs and alcohol. And I began to wonder, why is this? I looked into it. And I began to realize that the worldview of sobriety is different from the Teen Challenge worldview of it. See, the worldview of sobriety for the secular world is simply not using or not drinking. But after being at Teen Challenge for over 15 years, I realized that true sobriety only comes when you replace your addiction with something else. And at Teen Challenge, we believe it's Him. So as I said, there's a number of ways you can give, but what does this have to do with you and me? As I said, only 40% of people who come through our doors make it to graduation. I cannot tell you how many times a person has come to me and said, I was thinking of leaving the program, and then I got a letter from a supporter. Somebody I've never met before, somebody I've never really knew, sent me a letter encouraging me to stick it out. Don't get me wrong, the money is important. It's very important. They say right now it costs about $48,000 for one person to go through a year at Teen Challenge. All we ask for these guys when they come to the program is an $1,100 intake fee, and the main reason we do that is simply to see their commitment in the program. That $48,000 involves, heating, food, toiletries. I remember one time I did an intake of somebody who came to our program, and he walked to the doors, and I shook his hand and said, "Hi, I'm Patrick, nice to meet you." And I said, if you want to just go back to your vehicle and grab your stuff, you can come back and we'll meet in the office. And he just pulled out his pockets, and he said, "This is what I have." So we had to provide everything for him. I really encourage you to look through this form. If you haven't got one of these yet, you can certainly come to the table. We have plenty of them back at the table. And consider filling this out. It's not just for, a permanent one. It can be for a one-time donation, but I really encourage you to consider a yearly or monthly donation. The way I look at it, when I look at people telling me when I read about the journey, the passage in Scripture that I think about is from John 11, and it's the story of Lazarus. If you know the story, Lazarus was very ill, and his family came up to Jesus and said, if you come, maybe you can do something about this. But Jesus waited. And by the time he finally got there, it seemed too late. Lazarus was gone. And Jesus said, just wait. And he takes the people with him to the tomb. And when they get to the tomb, he does the most interesting thing. He goes to people around him. He says, all of you, remove the stone. Only after they remove the stone does Jesus then go, Lazarus, come forth. And after Lazarus came forth, Jesus went to the people around him, all of you, remove the bandages. And they all removed the bandages. See, the truth of the matter is, I can't change a life, you can't change a life, Teen Challenge can't change a life. But what we can do is point these guys to the one that can change their life. And that's why I truly believe in the journey. And almost a phrase I like to put it when I think about the journey is being a stone mover. Doing your part so that Jesus can then do his miracle. So as you're here this morning, really consider that idea of joining these guys in their journey and pointing to the one that can change their life. Finally, I'd like to introduce one of our final speakers, and I've gotten to know this guy very well, and it's been such an encouragement to have him here and being able to go into a number of outreaches with him, and I'm looking forward to you guys hearing his testimony too. Would you please welcome Al?
You can hear me? There we go. Well, this is the last place I ever thought I'd see myself, to tell you the truth. In front of people, talking about my life. I'm Al Perrick. I'm from a small town in Rocky Mountain House, Alberta. Grew up, my dad was a heavy drinker. Mom, she wasn't a big drinker. My brother and sister were pretty calm, but I seemed to get stuck with it. I was raised on a farm. I did rodeoing when I wasn't doing anything else, which was always. But anyways, so alcohol was pretty common in my family. Sit around, have a few beers, sit down after a hard day in the field with Dad. Sit down, have a beer, talk about things. But it just started to get to the point where started to get bad. Started to notice that everywhere I went, it had to be with me. Between my legs, behind the seat, in my pocket. And at 2003, when I graduated out of school, I started working in the oil field, driving semi, hauling heavy equipment, running heavy equipment. Never home, always gone. 9-10 years in a row, 9 winters I was gone working. And, the money was awesome. But it was that darn addiction that you had behind you that was following you. And it started to get worse. When I was coming home from days off, I would go rodeoing. What goes with rodeoing? Having a nice Budweiser. Worst thing. Started to get to the point where 2014 broke my pelvis. Can't work. What do? Gloat on beer. 2016, September 16, 2016, got married. August 30th, 2018, divorce. Was it my fault? No, of course it wasn't my fault. I never had nothing to do with it. She must not have been ready for anything yet. Well, that's when it started to catch up to me. 2 weeks after I got a divorce, DUI. 2 DUIs within a year and a half. I felt proud of myself. My parents felt real proud too. By this time, it was starting to get bad. I was pushing away the family, pushing away everybody, pushing away my friends. Got to the point where I was starting to get in trouble. I really didn't care about anybody. I just wanted alcohol. Never did get into the drugs, just alcohol was my bad thing. My dad always told me, he said, Al, you got to remember, you're supposed to be burying the dad. I'm not supposed to be burying you. That didn't even fizz on me ever. So it finally got to the point where I was in the hospital quite a bit, heart problems. The doctor told me right out, he says, you know what, you're going to have to get yourself fixed up or you're not going to be around much longer. Well, I thought to myself, how bad can it be? I'm not into drugs. I'm not onto nothing. Alcohol doesn't do nothing to you. Well, it was an ongoing trail of just pushing people away. Hadn't talked to my mom in 5-6 years. Haven't talked to my brother. My sister still talks to me. Don't talk to none of my nieces and my nephews. It was just starting to get me down. I had hit rock bottom. I lost everything. I had new trucks. I had new everything that I needed. Had myself set for life, and I just put it all down the drain. Felt real good after you thought about it, the money that I just threw away. So it got to the point where I had to reach out for help. I phoned my dad to help. He says, yeah, I'll help you. He comes up and helps me out. In Medicine Hat, I was living at the time. He takes me down to Calgary, to the Calgary Dream Center, to a retreat down there, rehab. I thought, oh, this will be a piece of cake. This won't be bad. No, 49 days. First day I get out of there, I get kicked out because they catch me drinking. Well, then I was really proud. Dad was really proud. So I moved into Calgary, stayed there and worked. Well, things just got worse because you knew that everything was right there for you. And Dad warned me. Dad would phone me every day to see what I was doing. When I didn't answer the phone, he would drive 2.5 hours just to come see what I was doing. Always caught me off guard. Finally, it got to the point, I phoned him up one day and I said, you know, Dad, I said, I need your help. This was after I was in the hospital for 2 months in the Foothills Hospital with heart problems. Just what had to get a pacemaker put in. Heart was pumping at 10%. I didn't think anything of it. Well, I'm all right. I'm a young guy. I can do it. Well, it got to the point where I had to come and fess up, and I had to do something quick, or I was going to be not around to tell anybody. So I come back home to Dad's house, and I thought, you know, this is the worst, living at home. Dad kept me busy doing stuff. And then I ended up thought I better take one last tear. Ended up in Sylvan Lake for a week. Didn't tell nobody where I was. Nobody could get a hold of me. Everybody thought, oh wow, where's Al at? Is he even alive? Finally, my dad gets a hold of me. I'm in the hospital again. Dad comes in and he gets pretty angry with me. He says, you know what, Al, this is done. You got to do something now. He said, I got a place, but these people want to talk to you about it. So my friends come in, I've been friends with for years in school. They said, there's a place it's called Teen Challenge. Would you be willing to go? I said, Teen Challenge? She said, the only thing that's wrong is it's faith-based. Faith-based. I thought to myself, man, oh man, I've never even been in a church much. I'm going to go to a faith-based place. Not a chance. She said, well, think about it. Well, just when you don't think there's bad stuff out there, then you start realizing. So I said, yes, I'll go. Well, I get a phone call on June 20th. I started applying. About July 1st, I get a phone call. And I had this little plan in my head, and I didn't know how it was going to work. But I wanted to quit everything on my 40th birthday, July 26th. my day of my birthday, quit everything, shut down drinking, try and become a better person. I get a phone call from Larry from Ontario. He says, Al, he said, we got a bed for you in Allen, Saskatchewan. I thought to myself, Allen, Saskatchewan. My name's Allen, Saskatchewan. No, I don't want to go to Allen, Saskatchewan of all places. Don't they have anything closer? So anyways, I ended up going. I said, yes, I'll go. He said, it's August 23rd. Well, I kind of wasn't very happy because I don't want to go on my birthday. So a week before my birthday, I get a phone call from Larry. Larry says, Al, we need to bump you up to July 26th. He said, would you be willing to go? I thought to myself, wow, something is going on here. Like somebody is looking out for me. I just couldn't believe it. I was just made me want to get going. I didn't have time to wait anymore. I was excited now. So we take our journey to Allen, Saskatchewan, me and my dad. My dad is so excited. I'm going to get help. Well, I'll tell you one thing. That Teen Challenge has changed my life drastically. The stuff I used to think of, the stuff I did, I don't even think of that stuff. When I first come into Teen Challenge, my head was a blur. I didn't really even know what day it was. Didn't even know what I was doing. Didn't have nothing to help me, no substance. And I'll tell you one thing, that place is a miracle. When you don't think there's demons and devils around, I'll tell you, they hit you. When they hit you hard when you're not expecting it. I've had a lot of bad days, but I've had many good days. I enjoy the place. The people are fantastic. And if it wasn't for that place, I probably wouldn't be here telling you my story. But anyways, I just thought I would let you guys hear my story and how it has changed my life around. The stuff that I plan on doing in life, in my new life, is a lot different than I had planned years ago. And this place is a miracle. And if there is anybody that is in trouble, needs help, this is the place to be. And I always go with Philippians 4:13, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. And I truly indulge in the guy upstairs is a miracle and helps the guy out. You go, you trust him, and he gives it back. So that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you so much, Al. Before I call up you, Pastor, I just wanted to finish off and say thank you again for having us today. It's such a blessing to do these. It's always a blessing also to see people, former graduates from Teen Challenge. It's great to say hello to Todd this morning and just saying hi to him and seeing former graduates. It's just such an honor to see them still being a part of Teen Challenge. Please consider coming and say hi to us. There's obviously a lot of questions you may have that I wasn't able to get to today. And, say hi to the guys, ask them a little more about what it's like to be at Teen Challenge. What does that mean? What does that look like? If you know anybody involved in substance addiction, please consider contacting Teen Challenge. And as I said, we'll be there, so please consider joining Teen Challenge. I said there's a number of ways you can give, but also please consider filling out this form, joining us for the journey, and helping to point these guys to the ones that can change their life. Thank you for having us, everyone.